Good day, I'm Greg Summers, and this is Trent Lewis, and welcome to the Crafty Summer Show. Today we're going to do something that probably most people have always wanted to try, but just never got around to it, and today we're going to brew our own beer. So I tried to do it the easy way. I bought a couple cans of the beer mix and the malt extract, and basically you just kind of put the two together like making a cake. Mix them up, heat them up, buttercup is born.
That easy, huh?
Put them in the tub and see what happens. So we're going to start. I guess the first thing we need to talk about is sanitation. And whenever you brew beer, everything has to be very clean because you don't even want anything getting into the beer to destroy the fermentation process. We have a special yeast that's made for beer, and if you could measure yeast, it's floating around everywhere, and you don't want that outside yeast to contaminate the beer. You need a special beer yeast, and I don't know, must be a commercial or something in there somewhere, but hey, we'll do that. So we make sure everything is nice and clean. We use bleach to clean all of our equipment. We need to have a hydrometer. There's one here. That measures the density of the beer, and we have a couple thermometers. One, we measure the temperature of the beer just before it starts to ferment, and then we leave another thermometer in the batch to check the temperature as we go along. Our spoons and our corks, and this is a fermentation lock here. Keeps any outside air from getting into the mix. So all these things have to go together, and it's kind of like a science project. You have to mix it up, put it together, keep it clean, and then go from there. Ooh, don't touch that. Oh, did you wash your hands?
No.
Oh. Okay, that's all right. That's the outside of it.
Okay.
So,
Sorry.
Here we go.
Already screwed something up already. Now, did you get this at a kit or something?
Well,
or did you
what
have to
I
get it
did, you know me, I can't,
Yeah.
I can't just go out and buy all this stuff. So I went to a store where they're selling the kits and all this stuff, and I look at everything and I said,
Oh,
ooh,
okay.
I've got that, and I can make that. And so I did buy the hydrometer, and I did buy the fermentation lock, which it's the same thing you use to make wine with. It keeps the outside air in. And of course I borrow a couple of my wife's utensils to finish the process with. And they sell these buckets. You're supposed to use a 6-gallon bucket to ferment in. Yeah. And everything's in 5-gallon buckets, so you can buy theirs if you want to. But I found somebody had one, and the amazing part to me is all these buckets. You go to all these stores and all these buckets, and they're all made in Fremont.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was even in Bloomington. There's a Fremont bucket there, so
nice.
That was kind of neat. So also you can get different books, and I buy these at yard sales because they're cheaper. So that's what got me started. I thought, oh gosh, I could make something like that. So we're going to start the process, and I think the first thing we'll do is we'll get things cooking, and then we'll go and start making sure everything is clean.
Okay.
Okay. First thing you need to do is you need to take the lids off of these two cans here. This can actually is the hops and the oh gosh, I forget what else is in there. The beer mix and the hops. It's in here. And this is malt extract, which is the extra sugar that you need to keep things going.
Now this can says dark ale, so that's what we're making.
Yeah, we're going to make dark ale. And it's made by Cooper's, and it's a English company. So, and you can buy any kind of beer mixes that you want. You can do an ale to a wheat beer, which I've tried that before, and that turned out pretty. What did you think of the wheat beer?
I don't remember.
Okay, so that turned out well. Thing I have the can upside down is because you have to open the bottom. You can't open the top for some reason. And they even send you the yeast that goes with it. And the more people you talk to, some of them say that you buy separate yeast that's refrigerated, so you know that it's a good fresh yeast instead of the ones that's been with the kits.
What if the beer has yeast infection?
Oh, then I don't know. I don't think it'll work out very good. It won't work. Probably wouldn't even taste good.
No.
Okay. What else do we need to know about this? I don't remember. Let's just get started and open up some cans here. I'll give you the can opener.
All right, I get to help Greg today.
Now, just remember, this is a real sticky syrup stuff in here, so you don't want to...
Am I doing this right here?
I don't know. let go of it.
Is it a garage sale too?
No, the wedding present, probably.
Okay, just let go.
Just hold it down. Now let go of it. There you go.
Ooh.
Oh, welcome back to the show.
Awesome.
We're finally getting into our second can. And again, this is really, really sticky, so you don't want to...
It's time to roll up the sleeves.
There you go. Very good.
Right.
Get a lift.
Get it? Oh, left it. Okay.
There you go.
Smarter than the
Okay,
can.
let's... Ew. Don't get this on you.
Very sticky. So you said the next process is you're gonna put this in the pan and cook it?
Yeah. Now what we need to do is heat this up.
Oh, you heat it up? Okay.
We're just kind of preheating it so we can get this syrupy stuff out of the can. And all I'm simply doing is putting these two in a couple small pans, add some heat to them. Okay, so now we got that stuff, and we're just trying to loosen it up so it'll pour easily, so we can get it all out of the cans. If you don't, you get this real sticky molasses type mess in there, which is really hard to get off your fingers once you get it on.
Well, how long do you put it on there?
This is going to be here for about 5 minutes. Now what we need to do now is add 1.5 gallons of water to this pan here, which is our brew pot. Mm-hmm. This is what we're going to brew in.
Okay.
So we'll take this here, water. Now, water is important. A lot of people that brew beer don't want to use tap water because it has salt in it or it has too much iron or mm-hmm. you know, whatever it is they don't like. And it's perfectly okay to use tap water as long as it doesn't have a lot of salt in it. Salt tends to kill the beer off. But whatever is in the water will impart some type of a flavor or taste to the water. It may be good, it may be bad. So what I try to do is I use the same type of water every time. Mm-hmm. Every time. And so I go to one of the local stores where they have purified and filtered water, and what I do is just refill my supplies with that, so I have the same water every time. So mm-hmm. I know if something goes wrong, it isn't the water because the water's the same. So we got to go with about 1.5 gallons of water, and gosh, I wish I could. Do you think that looks like 1.5 gallons yet?
Sure. How long is this?
This is 2.5 gallons.
Oh, okay.
So 2.5, 1.25. Yeah, we'll just add a little more.
There you go, nice half, right?
Yeah, this is all going to go into the batch, so I'm not worried about that because we will end up with a total of 5 gallons of liquid. So okay. 2.5 and 2.5.
Need some big pots.
2.5, yeah. So now we need to get this heated up, and this is what we're going to brew in. So everything is going to have to come to boil here, and once you get this to a boil and you add your syrups to it and your malt extract, then you boil it for about 15 minutes, and that gets everything mixed together, and it crystallizes the malt extract. And once that process is done, I guess we just throw it into the big pot here and see what happens. Remember, this is boiling water, so we have to put our cooled water in here first and add the boiled part to it. And careful, that has bleach in it because we're cleaning equipment in there. Mm-hmm. So we want to end up with a temperature of about 78 degrees for the mix. And that's just the right temperature for the yeast to be activated and start to grow. Okay, so now we're starting our cooking process. Great, that's all ready to go. And now what we need to do is sanitize some of our equipment. Right. I have some bleach in here, and I think you add about a half a cup for about 2 gallons of water, half a cup of bleach, and just regular non-scented bleach is what you want to use. Okay. For some reason, that's the most important part of, as far as disinfecting, is using bleach. Not necessarily the cleaners. Some soaps tend to leave a residue, so you need to use the bleach. That's it. And when in doubt, always check one of the books, and I'll let you know what to do. So I'm going to give you a glove here. You can put that on.
Okay. Is it either or glove?
Yeah.
I guess I'm right-handed.
Or lefty, righty, tighty. Okay, so what you're going to need to do is take the hydrometer and the, what's this, the bulbar part? This is the airlock, and the mixing spoon, the cork, and
all at once?
This thermometer here. No, you'll put them in a bucket and just kind of rinse them around. Usually when you're cleaning a bucket and those things there, you immerse them for about 20 minutes. And most of that, I kind of already did that before you got here, but we're going to do that now. Let's set this up here on top. There you
Splatter
go.
bleach in your eye there.
Don't get any bleach on you, especially on black clothes.
Dunk it in here?
Yeah, just set it in there and leave it set.
Okay.
And put the rest of the stuff, the bubbler and the cork, the spoon goes in there. And the thermometers, you just want to do the dip part of the tube, not the whole thing. So you can't put the whole thing down inside there. Okay, we'll talk a little bit about the lid. This is the lid that's going to go on top of the fermenter. It's basically a plastic lid, but what I've done is I've cut a hole in the middle, and in the middle then the cork, it's a rubber cork, fits into that, and it seals real tight. It keeps any
How do you put this in here?
external air from
drop it all in there?
into the mix. No, you just have to
Hold it?
hold it, and I'm going to give you a, and I'll say I've lost something.
This too? Yeah, hold both of them?
Yeah, you just hold them. What you want to do is excuse me. There. Use that as a cloth and wipe them down.
Okay.
Now we're getting this starting to bubble here.
Oh, I didn't mean to interrupt you there. You talking about the lid?
Yeah, and the lid has two holes in it. One's really small. It's the center holes for the bubbler to go in, the airlock, and then I got a very small hole here, and I insert one of the thermometers into it as a probe, and that sits in the liquid. So I always know what the temperature of the mix is. If it starts to cool off, then I need to move it towards a heat source or put a light bulb on or something like that to try to keep it between 65 and 75 degrees.
Is this good then? Just to soak these?
Yeah, now we've got to rinse those with hot water.
Okay.
So I'll go here to the sink and run really hot water on top of that and just rinse them out real good. Let that run for a second. And then set that on this towel and just let it dry off. Okay, now we're starting to get
Why is it important to do all these steps?
the cleaning part, you
Yeah.
mean? Well, if you get anything will contaminate the beer, and it won't turn into a very good batch of beer. Then that's the one thing.
So basically, if it affects the taste, then
affects the taste, you'll get a sour beer. I think is what one of the books calls it. And a sour beer is just bad beer, so you don't want to do that. The yeast that we're going to use here is a little separate yeast, and this is when you buy it. If you get it out of a refrigerated container or department, then it's probably going to be pretty good yeast. If it comes with the can, it's been setting in different environments, hot, cold, for as long as the can was manufactured. So a lot of people that make beer say don't use that particular yeast. Buy yeast that'll be more fresh. So we'll go that route. Hops is what gives beer its bitter taste, and you can actually grow hops around here. I've tried to grow some, and I can get the vines to grow, but I haven't produced any hops. And they're little cone-like flowers that go with it. They almost look like a miniature pine cone. And you can buy hops that are just natural, or you can buy them that have been made into little plugs or been ground up. And there's all different types of hops you can get depending on what you want. And once you get into making beer, then you start making your own mix.
Okay, you don't buy the pre-made.
You don't buy the kits in. You buy your own hops, and you buy your own grain, and your own charging sugars, and you mix it all together and see what happens. So you really get into this if you're going for the taste and flavor. Find something you like. But
you get a little more control that way.
Oh yeah, and then as you keep adding different pieces of equipment, that simplifies your process too, or you're not doing it on the kitchen stove. You know, you have your own buzz beer factory. So that's the way it works. Okay, we're going to stop here for another commercial and be back in a little bit. Okay, welcome back. Our water is just about to a boil, and we're going to add the two mixes into the pan, and that reduces one of the steps that we're doing. And let's see, I need this here.
Greg, how'd you start doing this? You said you came across a book or something? Or?
No, I guess when you're with people and you just talk about stuff, especially if you're drinking a beer, then you say, oh man, it'd be neat to make your own. You know, it's like making your own wine or make your own beer. So it's just something I always wanted to do, and everybody talks about it, and I just thought I'd just do it. So
how much actual beer will you be making?
How much beer that's a good question. You make about 2 cases of beer per batch.
Out of this?
Yeah, this batch will make about 48 bottles, which is 2 cases. So that's what it takes. Give or take a couple bottles, depending on how close to the bottom you get. And as the beer ferments, all the dead yeast and stuff sinks down to the bottom of the bucket, so you have this layer of unwanted stuff at the bottom of the bucket, which you don't want to put into the beer when you start bottling it. So you got to try to make sure that you keep that out of it. Oh, that's good. So, and then as far as getting your bottles, you could buy bottles if you want, or you can do the old tried and true process of collecting your own bottles as you drink beer. Or you can sample different ones. The thing about collecting your own bottles is you have to make sure that they are not twist-off cap bottles. They have to be regular bottle cap bottles. And so whenever you buy beer, just make sure that the ones that you have are the ones that have caps that you've got to use an opener on. Now, can you smell that part?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Now this is the beer extract that has the malt in it and the
hops
in it. Excuse me. Remember, hops is what gives the beer the bitter flavor.
Now the kit has the alcohol and the...
Pardon?
The kit has the alcohol and the...
The alcohol doesn't go into it until you start the fermentation process. Okay. So that's not, all there is in here is the sugars. And then once you add the yeast, that starts fermentation, and that's where the alcohol comes from then.
Okay.
Is the fermenting. So you can limit, I think, the amount of alcohol by not aging it so long. But usually you leave it set for about 5 to 7 days until the fermentation process stops. And the different types of beers that you make have different types of, or the different amounts of alcohol in them.
Is there any preference on the kits? Is it just...
Well, each time I've done this, I've tried a different kit, so I guess it doesn't. I just go for the taste that you get out of each one. You get a different taste, so, and you do it until you find one that you really like, and then that's the one you like. Or it's important that you take notes, and especially when you take the specific gravity, you read it to see what the density of the mix is, and then at the end you take the specific gravity and it tells you, then you figure out how much alcohol is in it. But if you keep notes, then the next time you make the same batch, you can try to make it exactly the same, or change one variable and go from there. Okay, now we need to stir this a little bit. It hasn't started boiling yet, so once we get a boil going, then we're going to wait, keep it boiling for about 15 minutes. The clarity of the beer then is, I think that's determined, I think what I read is once you shock the beer, that means you're adding the hot to the cold. That has something to do with the clarity, and also when you bottle it, it has something to do with the clarity too. When you bottle it, then you add corn sugar to the mix, and that provides the carbonation that's in the bottle. So the more sugar, the more carbonation, and you can also ruin the mix by putting too much in. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to add to our fermenting bucket now, we're going to add 2.5 gallons of cold water, and let's just take let's see how cold this is. This was sitting outside, and it's about 20 degrees outside, exactly 20 degrees, so this is probably about 38 degrees. That's pretty cold. If it isn't cold enough, then I take the fermenting bucket and set it inside of another bucket of ice water to cool it down faster. Okay, so this is about 42 degrees, so that's a good temperature to start from. Go ahead and take that and pour that into this bucket here. Do you want me to put it on the table?
Sure. Thank you.
Good job. Okay, now to keep that from getting contaminated now, we're going to put the lid and just set that down on top, and that keeps anything from settling into it.
Okay.
And so that we know the yeast and everything that goes into that's going to be as clean as we can. Purified water, and we bring us to a boil, and that purifies that amount. The buckets are clean, the lid's been cleaned, the corks are sanitized, so we're getting ready to go. That's what we need.
What do you like about making? What aspect of it do you like?
Oh gosh, I don't know.
Is it just because you have to, there's some sort of creation?
Yeah, you can have a little more control over it, and when you drink it, to you it tastes good because you made it, but then sometimes you have people taste it, then they really don't. They're very leery of it. You think anything homemade is bad or contaminated, or it's going to make you sick or something like that. Beer has alcohol in it. There's nothing that's going to kill it. It's like wine. If it was made properly, there's going to be nothing in it that's going to make you sick.
I was looking for your still outside.
I was trying to look that up on the internet, and they won't give you the ingredients. You can't find the ingredients for making moonshine. I don't think. Oh, you know what? You have to have a license.
Yeah, I think.
You can make beer and wine, but you can't make alcohol.
Really?
Whiskey. Okay, the pot is boiled now for about 15 minutes, and it looks good. You saw it earlier, so we're ready to take it off the stove and add it to our chilled water and see if we can get the temperature down. We may have to take it outside and immerse it in the other bucket to get the temperature down, but we'll see what happens.
Do you want to get the temperature down to
78 degrees is our optimum temperature. We could be a little less, but you don't be too much more because if it's too warm, it'll kill the yeast. So got to be just right.
All right.
It's like the little pig. So I don't know if I can hold this.
Can I open this lid now?
Yeah, take the lid off. I'm going to bring this over there, and you got to be really careful. And add this to the... Hey, we're making beer now. I can almost taste it.
Can we drink it now?
No.
Okay.
No, it'll have no carbonation at all, and it'll be really flat and bitter.
I'm just gonna keep asking you that occasionally.
Okay, next time. Now we got to take. It's time for a temperature reading. So we're gonna go see what temperature we get here. You don't want to leave the lid off too long, but what the heck? 82, 85. Oh, it's going up. 90, 91, 92. Okay, 96. All right, go ahead and put the lid on. Now what we have to do is we've got to bring temperature down. We're going to take the 5 gallons here, and we're going to take it outside and then immerse it in another bucket that has cold water to try to get the temperature to drop down. Okay, we're going to give that a couple minutes. We'll add some ice to the mix there to chill that down a little bit faster. Okay, we're going to leave that on ice for not more than 5 minutes to try to drop the temperature down. And then as soon as that's done, we'll bring it back in. We're going to measure specific gravity, record that in the book here so we know what it was when we started. And then we'll add the yeast to it, stir that in, and then close it up, put the airlock on it, and let it start fermenting at this time then. So we're ready to go. It has to sit for, I think, 5 to 7 days of fermentation, and after that the process will basically stop. It stops bubbling, and then we will transfer it to another bucket called the bottling bucket, add charging sugar to it, that'll give it the carbonation, and then bottle the beer and cap it. And then after you cap it, then you make sure that sits for between 10 and 20 days. Usually about 20 days it's at its maximum flavor. Now I want to take the specific gravity now, see how dense it is.
What are you looking for here?
Well, I don't know because I don't have my glasses on. About 1.1, I think. So we put this in here.
And you're looking for the density of what?
Of the liquid.
Of the liquid.
Can't read it. 1.045.
Mm-hmm.
1.045. Okay. 1.045. Remember that.
1.045.
Okay, now we're going to add the yeast.
How much is in there? A few ounces or?
11 grams.
Oh.
And then we're going to stir that up, mix that in really well.
Bucket of beer.
Bucket of beer. Isn't that something?
Maybe we call it that.
B.O.B. Try to get it to blend in.
Why don't you take it off so you can get this? Can you hang on a second so we can, or do you have to do this quick?
Yeah, we're going to be done here pretty quick, but we'll wait. Okay, what do you think? Is that as good as it gets?
Looks like it.
Okay. I'm going to put the lid on now. That's on. Take this off. This goes in that hole there. Airlock goes in here. And the cap for the airlock goes on there. This cap now just floats on that layer of water. And so as the yeast starts to work and the carbon dioxide is produced, it'll push the cap until it floats all the way up out of the water, and then the gas will release and it drops back down and locks it in place again. So, oh, did you see it?
Yeah.
Oh, look out. Let's do it again. Okay. Enough play. Okay, we're all mixed up. It's in the bucket, and we'll be back from a commercial break. Well, welcome back to our show. It's been 5 days since the last time you were here. The beer has fermented, and basically it has stopped. The bubbler's done. The temperature's still at the right temperature, and we're just now getting ready to take the specific gravity to make sure it's in the right positions. I just touched my nose with my fingers, and I gotta wash up. If you were here with us right now, there'd be a lot of bleachy smell because everything has been washed and then sterilized in a mild bleach solution and then rinsed. And we do this, try to make sure that everything stays just as clean as we can get it. So now we're going to take specific gravity. I've already loosened the lid on the top here. Take this off. It probably isn't very inviting to look at. Take the hydrometer, put it inside here, and let that sit for a second. Okay, we have the specific gravity reading now, and that reads out at about, wow, it's changed. 1.025. And I'm going to record that, and we record it so we can figure out the amount of alcohol in it then. 1.025. Okay, now what we have to do is take the beer out of the brewing bucket and transfer it to the bottling bucket. Once we've done that, we're going to add the priming sugar, which simply gives the beer its carbonation, gives it the fizz. And that's over here on the stove right now. It takes about 2/3 a cup of corn sugar, and it's boiling now, and I make kind of a syrup with that. And I need to turn that down a little bit because that's ready to go. I have my bottle caps here also, and I've put them in a little bit of boiling water to sterilize those, and so they're ready to go. Remember, you want to keep everything as clean as you possibly can. This is the bottling bucket. It has a spigot in it down here for that. And now we're going to take the beer, put it up here on top, and then what we need to do now is siphon the beer out of here down into that bucket there. Okay, now we're simply have our siphon going, and we're drawing the beer off of the fermenting bucket. The fermenting bucket now has about a 3/4 of an inch of yeast in the bottom of the bucket, and we have positioned the siphon hose just above that so we don't draw any of that into the bottling bucket. Some does get in there, and after you bottle, I was hoping that was shut off, and the bottle sits for a week to 10 days, you'll get a little bit of a white film on the bottom of the bottle, and that's okay. You just don't drink it. When you do drink the beer, you usually pour it into a glass and you leave about 3/4 of an inch in the bottom, and that takes care of all the sediment and everything. So now we're simply just cleaning the bucket out, and as you see, it's gone down pretty quick. I could sing you a song, but I won't. Okay, we have our bottles over here, and I've run those through well, I've rinsed them in the sink to get the solids out of it. They've been brushed out. They've been run through a dishwasher, high temperature, and then they've gone through a water bath, soaking bath with bleach in that. And so everything you do is to try to protect the consistency of the beer so everything is the same, and try to keep it as fresh as possible. We have a little capper over here, which I simply bought at an old antique store, and then the caps you buy separately as part of your supplies. Well, this is for home use, and so you don't need a permit to do this for home use. It's just like making wine. You don't need a permit, but if I wanted to sell it, then I'd probably be in big trouble. So as long as you try to use it for your own personal use, then you're okay. Once you tell people that you're going to make your own beer, it's not very hard to get bottles because everybody usually has some that they've saved for a while. They thought maybe someday they would use it, and it's pretty easy to acquire them. It just takes so much time to clean them, and that's what you spend most of your time on. You can buy new bottles if you wish to and go that route, but it's pretty easy to recycle them. And we're almost down to the bottom of the bucket. As far as bottling it, after you bottle it, you have to leave it set for about 5 to 10 days and let the carbonation build up in it. If you put too much carbonation in or too much sugar in it, you'll blow the caps off of them. So you know if you've done too much. I think about 1/2 to 2/3 of a cup is what is recommended for most batches. And there we are. I just finished our siphon. We have some floaters inside the bucket there. Yep. Get rid of those when we clean it out. Now I'm going to take the corn sugar and add this to the beer. It has to be corn sugar. I don't know why. Blend that up real good, mix it in. Okay. Now we take the brewing bucket, going to set it up here on top. Or excuse me, the bottling bucket. And here it is, we're ready for our first bottle. And what I have here is simple. It's a food grade spigot, a little piece of rubber tubing, so I can put that down in the bottle. And then open it up, fill it up to about 3/4 inch from the top. And can you see that? The beer is about down to here. I need just a little bit more. Okay, so now we have the beer in the bottle. I do this inside of a tray because this tends to drip. Put our bottle on the corker there. Pour out some of the water. Oops. And you just simply repeat the process as many times as it takes. Hopefully you end up with about 2 cases of beer. And it's the best beer that you ever tasted. Ho, 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 ho. Okay, it's time. Welcome back. It's been 2 weeks since we bottled our beer. It sat in a nice, cool basement. The temperature hasn't changed any, so it should be in pretty good shape. It should have developed some carbonation. That depends on how much sugar you put into it when you bottle it. So if you want a lot of carbonation, be careful you don't blow the caps off of them, but you put in more sugar and not as much carbonation, you put in less. So we have our own special labels now, in-house labels. It's called Crafty Brew Beer. Okay, a couple of chilled glasses out of the fridge, and we always listen for that sound.
We can dump that on.
Look, 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 look.
Crafty brew.
Crafty brew. And we'll see. This is a darker ale, has a little bit more body to it than a light beer. Normally, when you brew your own beer and then you bottle it, what I've read in the books is you always pour it into a glass. You never drink it out of a bottle. There's a little bit of yeast that forms in the bottom that settles out as the beer clarifies, and so you always pour it into a glass and usually leave a little bit at the bottom so you don't mix that in with your beer and spoil the flavor. Well, there's some carbonation in there now, so. All right, here goes.
Cheers.
Cheers. Stout. It's a stout beer.
Oh, yeah.
Got good flavor.
Very good.
Of course, you don't know if I'm really telling the truth or not, but when you brew your own beer, you start developing a taste for beer that has more of a hop flavor to it, and it's normally a little bit stronger than the regular beers that you buy already bottled. So, hey, to each his own.
Well, thanks, Greg, for showing us how you make a beer.
Well, you're welcome, and now I have my little supply in the basement, and every once in a while I have to see how it goes. Remember, you let it sit for about 10 days before you actually open the first one, and then as the week has gone by here, I've kind of cheated a little bit just to see, and then and it really does get better as it ages a little bit more. So if you can wait that long, it's good. Okay, see you next time. I'm Greg Summers for the Crafty Summers Show.